47 armor up. These other political candidates are no different from last 2 years. DeSantis is increasing executions whilst inferring against Chinese trade routes. He's going to reduce them. Because that's, to me, this frightening cringe and entropy is not the glory of America today. My voice, American brave, a genuine master in the onion layers perfect circle. The value of that's the thing. All right. On one side, it'd be like, how do we perfect the tranquil horizon? The encounter so palpable, physical law. For some people in the expressionate forms of human incarnation, they express overwhelming. They're like, oh, it's too much. I can see it. You look out at the horizon, you see the sun setting. And like, for some of our expressionists, they're just like, oh, right now, that's not what I'm suggesting, but the truth of the tenacity of the now point and the working day is such a torque or such a reality as the solutions can be sired in such a way. When it said alt language X5000 that humans speak, and it's a encrypted form that allows them, because we're not the energy is a different type of thing. It is a Merry Christmas. I comprehend the language shift. There's a general dividoid in the universal or the government, or the neighborhood of Earth heliosphere. That's politics. So the difference of the universal market, it's almost like the vacuum of like things where you can allocate some foundational things, but certainly levitation, willpower, and our continuing to live on this planet. I'll be built, perfect bullseye. Workshops were employed to manufacture these things. I was inspired by these Floridians there was a storm encroaching, and they're just fed up with storms. And so a bunch of people got together and started using their firearms, and they'd shoot out at the ocean. And they was like, stop this storm. And I was like, I started going out and chanting, and I was like, yes, that's going to do it, because that metal flying through the air and then it hits the ocean, it'll save like lives to hear this. It's like, whoa, that's really big. So, the problem of this thing, and then so producing my unique American voice is a profound, it's the secret way that humans have an advantage here. With their spending money, we put this workhorse 47. He's angry. Oh, well, I mean, people say, all right, so what's your stance on China and their trade route? Look, you guys, because I'm a virtual unknown, I can have a relationship with China that defeats these supposed atriarchs of navigating and representing the people. There's a defunct thing going on. It's rattling around. I was seeing a campaign film from DeSantis where he's handing out beers, literally. He's behind the beer, and the caption read that he had hightailed it without paying the bail, even though he had been shouting about everyone was going to get a drink on it. At any rate, this clip detailed him and a small interaction where he's handing out a beer. And then like people were like kind of like turning away from him, and someone's like, "Hey, we'll see the thing tonight." And he's like, "Oh, you're looking forward to it. Here's a beer." And he's increasing executions. I thought, God damn, this guy is my enemy. You know, like a false leader. This is not the response to an environmental crisis. There are solutions. It is a battle. And to employ our outlets, to employ the day, sort of like overclocking the day. And you know, this was scary. In my meditation, well, it began this recording. I had this moment of realization. I'm like, look, because the day is long, you can actually cause a solution for everything, or you know, there's basically you could do anything in the day, and that's why it's like, whoa, okay, that's all I was trying to say. Well, but people being somber and be like, hey, I harness it and I'm hey, I respect that. You guys are rocking the day. I'm just talking about mutual opposition because it's not personal. Like I'm not saying like, oh, the super complicated person that whoever that we are in the audience or the work at the perfect circle here. No, it's like we can comprehend this. So like, oh, obvious. Well, that's what I want to campaign with, is these large understandings. And between myself and a production party, we're gonna have a beautiful 6-hour party film. You know, it's both an actual party, like it's fun to be around, but it's also a political party. And that's actually what I'm trying to say. It's between the collision of myself. When we're talking about the vision of the film, what are we talking about? What are we doing here? It's both that everyone watching the film is able to, and this is between me and the production group, the takeaway, the final result of watching the movie is people are able to accept that, yes, he is actually running for president. And the whole film was about that information. And it's all a different method with him. He's like, well, if you want to talk about China, first of all, my campaign and then becoming president is about developing a powerful relationship with all countries around the world, which means like I'll be doing speeches. I'm talking about raising up a powerful family and how this is healthy or whatever, and just some kind of cool stuff, you guys. That's going to be worth a lot more later on. All right, so, and I might have, if I'm rolling along and it's, oh, we're writing, you know, I need that Lakeside Revolution Center, and I can definitely, there'll be these surprises where there's a bonus here, a bonus there. All, you know, my work is like that. It has these breakaways. I just need the production value. Let's get good quality pictures. Let's get good quality audio recordings. You know, let's get this to work. Harness the day. That's right. Yeah. So the contraption of things there, because as I'm working a professional incarnation, it is self-reliance and a self-mastery. And I'm seeing in DeSantos and these other characters the depression of America and the problem with some sort of deep fake. All right. Developing the Leverett Circle Lakeside. It's like the most fun place to be in the world. There's like layers of amusement park. What I do is, well, there's a percentage and there's a curvature. For example, there's a character that does on 3 sides, is interacting as a pesky animal that just sort of skitters around and confuses these other characters because they're like, well, it's a female performer, and she does hologram. So she does this. She has her own channel, but her channel has additionally this physical task where she has 3 different windows where she abbreviates the time on with some other characters who are doing like a more serious shop thing or something. But you know, this isn't just a work mill. It's like every single thing we're doing is something we're interested in, something that sort of became you know, we knew that, like, I see an image here and then building up, and someone from over here is just like, oh, wait a minute, my cigarette, you know, and then they start charging at it in their way. I have a certain way where I'm like, we have to run through the forest cloaked as wolves, and then the forest opens up. We literally have a Lotus moment where we can see something, and it helps. It's all the conversation and the communication. Also, I feel the enlightenment while I'm working with you guys. But if you want to talk about my okay, well, the product, the movie, I want to have this first introduction with America. So my OCD is that I go around, I have to go through the forest a little bit, and then I think at the end of the story, usually people are. What I mean to do is be like, it's surprisingly, here's the answer. It's beautiful, and they'll have like a little like they'll laugh and they'll be like, well, what you're trying to say is very simple, and I'm like, oh, really, you know. But the this other angel, like I say what I say, and then this other angel's like, quite simple. I'm like, yeah, I guess it, you know, I see. Uh, but it doesn't mean that I'm simple. Um, and I've just sort of felt that I've been working for my breakaway my whole life. I've gone through all art schools and film this and starving artist that. Look around, all right. Genuine article. The reality, wait. Oh, there's just a few things I want to bounce between on the. Let's go on the wolf hunt here. Oh, well, I was just saying that my way of explaining something is like this. My feeling is that once have this completed image, that is like the working operating thing. But people will be like, well, you have to explain the tail lights and then this and this and this and this and bring it around like that. And we're talking about its own LLC. So we have to get the D2 on this. And it's just like white pages on the Lingos. And I'm like 90, like Windows 95. Like this is procedural. Like this little robot scobbling away at time. Just chewing on their faces. Guggung, guggung, guggung. What? No. Yo, it's a zombie apocalypse. All right. Everyone get out your zombie killing guns. For every single rib cage in your body, there's like 12 zombie killing guns that go out and blastoid in the future, thousands of years. The wreckage clears the way so you're healthy and you have a good time. It's about having a party. It's about America being the best party house it can be. We're all mutually wanting to have a good time. The sorrow of the USD is that these evidence of themselves, petri dish, wealthy gapoids, and industry marketoids are confessing about the keystone of, incarnation is invisible / we knew about it already. Therefore, mishandling and continuing and this sort of thing, the breakaway would be like, oh, a narrow beagle of the Hollywood wealthy. Oh, we could produce this. Maybe they haven't received a memo from my Illumination being like, if you produce him, you're fired. It was written backwards in a strange language. They had to decode it while playing a board game. It was like, you guys. Like I make these wrong humorous assumptions. But I'm already gap toast. Like there's this huge missing psychic bubble where the humans have their lights knocked out, and it's not that I'm the ESP Esper who's like Vacunos. I'm not like you guys. In fact, because I'm a social worker, I'm continuously doing like the Windows update, like cleaning out these tanks, like and recovering from the human concussion, but through immersion, not trying to escape who humanity is. In fact, I love the new video games and that because the technology is all there and in the faces of these video game characters, I'm like, this is really going to be worth it. In the next 100 years, wow, these guys are the ones on the now point. Look at them working on this. Well, I also feel that the perfect circle, like the energy around the new release video games, it captures the best of everyone in the encounter. Like everyone's there being like, "Oh, cool! It's really neat. Looks good." And like seeing a preview of a game is sort of like a microcosm where you get to play that game. I don't know. I think so. The osmosis is there. Because I go through these things, man. They'll have like an IGN party and they'll have all these releases. Like, here's like 20 games, you guys. I watch the preview and I'm like, oh wow, this is the first 5 minutes of it. I feel like I've just played that game. Thank you. Click. I was born in 1980, so I'm teetering on being a classic beagle. People just not discovered it yet. It's got all these like extra adornments, right? All right. Sorry, like I'm not like I'm not this I'm not a poser. Um, when I'm communicating with you guys, rather, and the opportunity of my production to communicate with Americans today is to overclock something to expedient faster than the speed of light. So the reason I become anxious, and I've never really in my life had the shouties before, and but I've actually learned like recently. I'm like, because I see the clockwork of the universe is having a identity shatter forth, and I am working overtime to address that. But the identity thing is like I'm really missing out from my peer group and my campaign, and I feel absolutely it's painful to be held apart from the American audience in this way. So my plan, my campaign is building a relationship with the American audience. When you guys want to talk about something complicated, you don't even understand the question. That's what I was going to talk about. Is like DeSantis is talking about things that people don't. It's sort of like a comprehension versus confusion, and these little link toasts of like increasing the rate of executions, whilst body checking Walt Disney, and I just don't think that the positions about inclusion in America, DeSantis is the sort of conservative. I don't think it's appropriate to have that kind of stance. What I'm talking about is making overhauling the way that our country operates through an evaporation of USD, multiplying it, causing that the government is capable of affording, not of exporting our steel and our beef like a coward. There's a false type of consumerism from a balding person. It's a terrorist cloud. There's no willpower to support your campaign, sir. It's a really poor area in my. I don't know. It's just like this divot of like oil and water. It's a stupid thing. But what really gives me the squig nod, makes me feel upset, is that my financial situation isn't actually that bad, and I'm able to work full time in my studio. Yeah, that's amazing. And right now, I could make a mascot character helmet with the 47 on the side, and go like galumphing as I'm like basically campaigning / exploring adventures, and that would be amazing when it is a documentary. But I think that it would escalate into like its own popular little streaming service, and then in a couple of years I would get really popular. And my problem with that's my like, and people are like, oh, he's not trying hard enough. He just wants us to produce him for reasons that's the reason why. And no, I think I'm the perfect thing that deserves production, and that is right to be produced. Not, yeah, and also that I do believe my book of inventions and the comprehension that the um, Lakeside Revolution Center, Loop Labs, it's a revolution for the identity. It's a revolution for the heart. It's a place that people can access online. So you can actually have a party, you can virtual and spend hours and hours there. More time than if they were to visit. They'd be like, oh, we're done running, they like walk through and they're like, where? But on the virtual center, you could stay there for weeks. I mean, it's awesome and socialize with other people doing those. There's sort of little islands of thoughts that we want to circulate. And that is really we have a statistical monster operating and revealing the vote, basically foot traffic, and not to be asking people but to respect that they trod there. Be like, well, here's some of the things. This amount of people are interested in that, and they're going over there. When there's some comments that people said, and they might talk about it. If they're pushing on that. It's a really cool operation, you guys. Like perfect circle round. The reason I'm talking strangely here at the beginning, Beta Wolf, is it's like the root system where the quantum shifting in the future, where we're racing up revolutionaries lakeside, is much more complicated. So it's going to like and we have basically a video Lotus meeting call of wizards Merlin, and like multiply stabilize this thing and dot like a freaking player piano throughout time. This is a society, it's a public society. Oh, this is a communication. So hypertension and the atomics are having a revolution through the Earth heliosphere. The solar system's having a hard time speaking to benevolent humans suffocate with a slime cube interpretation key. It's not common sense, but it is a scary zombie. Oh, these are important delegates on the inside. In fact, the zombie identity and why humans are in a depressed place where there's way too much scary stuff, I think. And on my streaming service, oh, it's not so much about having scary shows. Oh man, I'm gonna be such a important director for the voice of. Well, you guys, the reason it's giving me an identity split is because, well, it does seem tempestuous for me to. Oh, it's sort of like the American freedom. But I there's this feeling. I'm like, if you do that, people are going to, whether you like it or not, the impression they're like, well, but it's not always the same way with me, which is why I don't want to jinx it. Like my own company startup, perfect design, right? Everything, all right, well, I'm working on it. What I just realized is that the curvature and the magic of Hollywood production embracing me, wealthy people saying like, this is definitely something we can definitely afford it. Please don't worry about that. Well, I'm like, dude, that's my concern all the time. And it's not even funny. The revolution, I am that revolutionary. It's a full time to be the top hat. But I delegate a lot and I cut and I abbreviate like this when I'm working as a manager. So, anyways, yeah. Well, for me to abandon a production of my campaign, which would actually save humanity from extinction and get us away from a government that's actually being operated by these weird examples that are loping out like this is common sense of junk DNA confessing about these coitus, that coitus, and that. It's not that they're releasing UFO information because of the because they're not having progress, right? We shut down the borders, our economy is busted, it's overheating. There's problems here. All the oil lights are bleeping. Please give me free speech, free election. The 6-hour film is all I need to explain to people, and then absolutely, people will support what they will express themselves. And that's what we're going to invite. The final product, I think that it's both good and bad when we have a projection. We're thinking about what the movie's going to look like, and we're all seeing this different kind of creature there. What I want to say is it was beautiful, it was fun, but evenly, I was able to be aggressive and express I am running for president. This is why that's serious. I have a different method. So, for example, the relationship with China and stuff, or trade and stuff, like we would bring it in, talk about it, see the visuals. It would take like 3 minutes. We go through some pictures. It's been put together cleverly. It's not like a folder. It's a more like these things like fade through like digitally, or like, and it actually compiles like on the screen, like we're rendering the idea over here. And I think instead what I do is I would put together a offering of that's worth like 10,000 sides of like it's in a beautiful palace. And I would say, let's talk to China about opening up. Oh, I apologize, you guys. But it would be like, I just have a different way. Okay, maybe that's not. I'm just trying to visualize, like, well, I'm not at all interested in shutting down Chinese trade routes. I am interested in preventing American steel and beef exports. I think it's ridiculous. I think China should farm their own cows. Right? And I'm going to employ laws. We'll probably end up having to pay for it ourselves, because you don't want to tax the farmers. But we have to have a sewage system that treats all the manure. And that's going to reduce on our methane emissions. There's certain things that are considered part of this sort of acceptable milk toast obvious, but we're just we're failing the daylight. We're failing developmental years. We have New York City and Los Angeles like in a little snow globe, perfectly. But these are like champions of mankind, and we're sort of like going through these weird shockwaves without the hope, without an America who's just saying like, we have all this open land, and I want to build a city where we're working to make a population that can occupy it. Be like, hey, we got too much space. That's what the problem we want to have. But build it with the green energy. As though, building a city around like a huge river, and then harnessing the energy there and building it up with exactly like how big could we make this with this amount of energy? And let's increase the skeletal structure X times. They'll figure out lighter weight technology in the future. Okay, right. So the steel structure is going to be like 0.5 times bigger. Oh, that's even bigger. Yeah. So a huge super city, right? Sure enough, the upper band phrase of like ornate roofings like filled out when they were doing like, oh, we have a different well, it's like AI robots in an energy grid that they need to be levitating, and those become these sort of leaflets like a tree, and the tree leaves all have a different AI that's part of a factory, a city-sized robot where you can talk to the city's robot, but they're all engineered, they're connected together. But then people have private robots, and it's just a wonderful thing. Raising up a family here, just balance the energy and stop cooking our place. It's overheating, it's undignified. America has to fight back. Right? When I'm talking about we attack zombies and they're like, hey, there's a microchip inside of a zombie because it's a broken body. Oh, this broken body needs to be put down. There's clearly something wrong here. Clearly, the zombie is out of order. Okay, it's The Walking Dead. So when you put basically you're putting to rights, it's basically the icon like, oh, a broken body goes to bed. Stay in there. All right. Thank you guys. All right. So this is what I was saying. In my metaverse is important because it's part of the stamina that's beyond what it feels like on the now point. Oh, it's almost like, oh, the now point. It's so finicky. Well, what about what my portfolio, like the things, the work of my lifetime, and how I wear that smash, no matter all the time. It's my forever bond with the existence universe, right? I suppose the sustainable market in the universe field. My arrival secures these strings to the actual hatched heliosphere age momentoids and clarifies the vast difference between the enlightened corona of empty space and the universe working to occupy that, and those who are corrupting that entire effort and encroaching against our great grandchildren and the future-ish. Because they use like humanity to expunge my event like this, and then humans are like, oh, we don't know if we should allow for a split or for an election today. Oh, yeah, you definitely should. All right, perfect design. All these birds come. Phoenix, you then for the next 100 years, you sick son of a bitch. Blockage out here, blockage out here. Oof, oof. It's like a premeditated mayday against the identity suplex of humanity. Why aren't you a consumer? You're not doing, oh, and there's supposedly the in time. It's all, oh, we're working on who we are, oh, people. Like, we need to get to work on our infrastructure as a city and as a planet. And I think that will satisfy the women. The women are being placated. Like, oh, we women are satisfied with the downtown shopping district. Like, it's almost boring. And like the interface of like shopping online isn't exactly there yet, even though we're all doing that. I think that virtual living, like in like an entire room of TVs, I mean, an entire virtual room where it's just the walls are, and you don't have to walk on a tread board. I hope that people transcend that part, but you should be able to like levitate through the virtual net in your, full immersion television thing. I think, look, I've got a lot of, in order to open this stuff up, it's not just I was talking about it, or we're going to patent that, and then we have to make that work. We have to overhaul the American government with identity. Allow my keystone to reach the eyes of America. That portends their confidence for the free speech free election, defeats the Electoral College encryption, defeat the monsters of DeSantos. He's just throwing out these things where he's going to talk about China. He's going to like, oh, the tariffs. You guys remember the problems with Chinese tariffs. So I'm tough on that. That's disgusting. I apologize. I am sorry. Historically speaking, you guys, I'm already the popular president. In the metaphysics, well, like things are happening in the universe, and I believe the miracle of my popular party video is the greater entropy for humanity to own residency, to keep the miracle, and to be the island. Like I said, they have this independent. Well, we can like stabilize the market of humans. What was that? Okay, come on, man. We can just to like invest in humanity anyway. Like, it's not about you guys. It's good for you guys to taste my piece and to be like, this guy has some good entertainment value, right? He does life stuff. He's got some clockwork in his head. Yeah, well, X times 5,000. This sort of false clairvoyance of nothingness is a suffragette of listening. You know, the artist is like, hey, I do some of my best thinking while I'm listening. People love listening to music, of course, while they're painting. What's weird is that the work of painting, uh, you would want to be the one making the sounds yourself. Like, I imagine all these paintings like filled up with the radio, encrypting like water as it's freezing on the painting. That's a strange thing, man. Well, what I was saying is that the human input valves is a custom fitting, this alternate thing. But if, like, in the day, I'm like, oh, I'm drawing like a new little character. I'm drawing like a little character. Like, for example, the artworks I did, I admit that some of them are a little bit getting a little scribbly and detapilated, but there was this sort of something alive inside of it. So there's these little characters in the shapes and stuff. And when I find them, I feel like that's when they're completed. But someone else would see it and be like, he really needs to render these images more. I'm like, you probably put like, detail. He's got a little pocket with a button and put the hat on there like that with 3D. All of a sudden, he's lost something of the intelligence of like what's shadow and what is how does the eye like snap and see those little character like like all right. Well, my feeling is that I want to work with a development a production, because these guys and gals are gonna equate the levy where what I describe as like their OCD process is like a business, like it's the reason I want to work with Californian. It's the reason I want to work with you guys, and I think it stitches together America that where our public communication is going to save the world. I just need them to be able to see that movie so they can spend the time and do that. Like I go through torture when I start noticing like, oh, my bank account is recovered and I can take out another loan right now. And it hurts because I'm like, what, don't you think that you could do it? I'm like, I'm sure that I could, but what I literally feel is that I would then own my own streaming service, but I don't. I think that people would remember, because I know it isn't about it's not about that, because I have this sort of power of rejuvenation, phoenix power. I have like reinvention on my side. So it's not about the trouble impact. It's about whether or not I can have a respectful relationship with them as a president. If I was to try to run for president in the future, like, 8 years in the future, after I've become a popular communications artist, is it even like, I just think this is really much more relevant to everybody in the earth also. And it's been changing, like history rivets, like, and people having like their own interpretation keys of everything. Hey, and because the fetus fractal is the individual. It's always going to be a lot of hard work. I guarantee everyone in the universe is doing their best. Right? And to involve exactly my precise true love, lock and key. For this production, please, I'm begging you guys, produce my movie. I love you guys. Please don't ruin humanity. Their identity is struggling like this, and they only have these toxic signs because the Christmas tree, the singularity is as if this reveals it, is we're on this dark side of the beginning, a very early time when it's just like understanding things between us has been progressive for mankind. Some people watch my movie and they're like, oh my gosh, I just realized something. But actually, in like the environment of humans, it's just like shift. So other thing, like New York City noticed something like, rah, rah. Oh wait, people do understand what the designer of the Sword of Justice was saying they do understand what he's saying. Like it's a big thing in the, and then but that would kind of consume the value, and I'd be like, you're right, that's the value, go there. But also I really just need someone thinking like you're sort of playfully looking for a nest egg, so that America can be really beautiful and amazing. Like it's a miracle for everyone. I won't waste this production money, not at all. I'm gonna put it to full work. I've got a lot of ideas. Sometimes I have too many ideas. I mean, write them down. I need to go through them. But in the sequence of things, I definitely have an arsenal. Things that, all right. Well, all right. I have a different method. So as DeSantos is using like expressions from other people's campaigns, and he's saying he's going to narrow the tariffs over China. This is a terrible thing to say while he's increasing executions. This dude's like a one-man band. And I think he's a little spooky because he's lacing his words with dead people. We need to give the Revolution Center a chance. If people are going to support it, it's going to spring to life. That's really the opportunity for everybody in America, is to see my party movie. So while it does seem like maniacal that, oh, here he is again, he's a daily recorder, just give him a break. If you guys just play in the background, listen to his voice while you're doing something else, that's perfect. I love that you guys are here and everything. I'm looking for production because this is a leap that's correct, that saves the world because it's a miracle that's human made. This is what people can do. We can pay for this. Just like everything else that we've learned to trust in our society. All right. So if we're getting to it's not my passion that I'm going to be locking things down with other countries. I want to build a relationship with them, especially when I'm building and talking with America. It's one of the best ways we can like look at an engine and talk about it, and they're definitely going to understand what's going on there. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Like they're talking about how to change that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the visuals and the fact that we have a virtual production team, it's a communication epiphany to overclock an arbitrary system. It's overdue. It's an American-sized engine. It's colossal. It's like changing the identity of the Earth. And I got my finger on the pulse of that. Of course, the shocks of other things. But the Mandelbrot fractal is connected through a mathematical now point. And so the work of bringing triangulation to the particle rainbow universe is going to stabilize the black holes anyway. There's sort of this weird market that is the vacuum that could prevent catastrophic invasion later. So I'm just sort of stapling that. Like my work with you guys is absolutely reality aluminum important on the calendar when you're talking about the days of the year as a expression, and how does that work with the atomic form? Okay, so there's these alternate. How does the atomic form work, and how do we control hydrogen? And what we don't have to be there. We're going to remote hack. I'm working and. Some of these larger solutions are like capturing a fairy in a scrapbook, and it's splatted out flat, and there it is, and you got the whole thing figured out. The flat dimension is here to calculate things. So this like confusion of space hits the thing, and it goes chowder fan, but the calculation's on a new level, and it's to the advantage of the Earth and the residency of the humans. So we do have the upper hand. And I'm working to have the natural upper hand as we continue, obviously. Well, the hypertension of the Mandelbrot awakening is something humans are resonating with, but rest assured, these are connected as X5000. It's actually more than that. But it's amazing how like even the thought of like 5,000 is a ridiculous amount of angels that are triangulating the universe and working on this thing. Yeah. Well, they're connected, and so they're kind of working on it together, right? Um, well, the dingus, like humans are broken. It's a literal physical barrier. I think it's not that. It's not a philosophy. It's not. I think I'm trying to be real with you guys. You produce my 6-hour film. It's going to break the fever because of everybody. Because we are the show. Because you love the audience. You allow them to have this experience. Okay. Yeah, and I'm tempted to like just I'll just do my own part because I've got all the materials. I'm like, oh, make a big new mask with lights in it and stuff, and then and it's sort of like what I'm doing as like a 15% of every day. I'm like I work a little bit on it. Like I ordered this other light up. I've got this other like uh, shield mask thing that could be good, which would help me to have a really good visual picture. Um, like I'm trying to save the world on my own, and I'd so much rather be embraced by the Californian team, who love me and they're like, yes, we want to make your film, and this is really on point. We love that, right? DeSantos. All right, I have a couple layers of like a soldier's helmet that can take out a grenade, and I want to explain one of them right now for a maneuver and a pivot that I want to build it right now with you guys on the beta wolves. But also to understand why it's worthy to invest in me, why I need this lakeside real estate, the Revolution Center, because it's not that the plan is to make all these assumptions and over purchase into things. But if we get there, if we get to a certain point, we're going to have options. And one of those options, all right, is I'm going to build a whole department where there's a sort of party energy where the whole institution allows for like multiple party things to breathe around. Well, we're going to bring in, bring him in, Bill Clinton, like this ex-president. We're gonna have Bill Clinton, and he's got a schedule, and also we have in his studio apartment or whatever, he can work on the internet, do whatever. He's working. He has his own thing also, but he's gonna stay with us for like a week. All right. Now, I literally I think that might be enough to turn things, but I have this much sharper way of doing this. I want to. Part of my expression is to involve these presidents to explain a sort of common sense shoot from your hip, explain to us the rivetoid of what is really the vacuum of the engine of being a president. Because we're not trying to, like, we can't understand what they know about because they definitely know the solution. And this is why I'm not interested in tariffs over China. And just to finish that idea, like if I did have to sit down and talk about what do we want to do with China, it'd be about steel and beef being restricted to the American market, because those are actually permanent resources. Either, all right. Well, it would be like, is there something historically between America and China that was once beloved? They're like, oh yeah, like there's ginger exchange of alcoholic root, alcoholic, or like a couple of different things. And what if you're like that? I'm sorry, but I would put that together and I'd say it's almost like you want to like hit the top of it and it opens up like welcome home or something, but you send it to the Chinese government and it's like a film and we communicate to them. We're like, so we were thinking about these and that thing, and we'd like to offer up like reopening this and that because there was old human footwork that explained that was, toasty. So maybe we could try that, and we might not be so concerned about these other things. And because I'd say to what I feel now and what I feel then is that the Asians are incredibly to be encountered like a living dragon, to be honored, to be respected. And it's like the Asian will communicate with us with these tariffs if that's the bone that we're all chewing on. Now, I'm not doing a placation. I'm talking to them correctly when I say if we could get constructive between us, we're not really going to be arguing about these tariffs, which is like the most. It's like an expression of Asian outrage and racism against America, being like, you guys suck. So you want to chew on these tariffs and talk about how we control social media? I mean, obviously, our expression of how social media flummoxes and flows and how we want it to be educational or whatever is a real reflection of the weather, the slime cube, the oppression, the sort of general apocalyptic season of humanity on Earth. You don't have to get triggered about like TikTok, like this is like predator. This is like feeding on like where like how did like this is the video games are controlling the future, and so our military needs to get into PlayStation 5, and these pictures actually mean something else on a computer, and this is welcome to consumerism in this way, and this is hey, that's like a spiraling. This tap dancing octopus that just wiped out in 2023. The old American beagle, capitalism. Right? There's a better capitalism, but it involves computers, robots, AI, and they need to be applied. So how do we do it? Communications streaming service. And it evolves simply from the lakeside right into the White House, and then and after I become 47. But the process is communicated. Again, something that people are like, oh, these tariffs and this strategy is going to, obviously it's taking them years. These politicians are like, we haven't come up with a solution yet. We haven't. It's all a house of cards, but in the worst way, dude. That's so bad. So we need real leadership to represent America. What I do is like build a relationship with these other countries. And that's first through leadership, lead by example. I don't just point at them, all right? But if we have to talk to them about tariffs, and I'm already the president, I try to instate something more mutually interesting. Yeah. And then I think what you'll find is smiles and agreement where they're like, oh, thank goodness we weren't like, you're not wasting my freaking life with like some kind of symposium that you're nailing things down in your country with these tariffs. Okay, it's like an Asian insult, long bow. Yeah. America is having this revolution in the identity. We can overclock the USD, we can set people free in a way that it employs them. And I want to stress this because I am conservative in a certain way. I think what you'll find is because I'm building a relationship with people, let's say, just for example, but in the year 2024, I'd say like, all right, we're updating the social security number of the card. We're updating people's card. Your residency equals what? It's going to equal all of these services and automatic annual basic gratuity, like you have an allowance, all right? But we're going to have. So here's the thing that you wouldn't believe, because right now people are like, defund the police, stop all this stuff. But I think what I'm saying is like, we've dropped this engine in, and we're talking about it's a huge operation overhauling the USD, and it's just playfully like, well, here's like this ventricle, and it's an organ, and in exchange, what I want you guys to do is understand that when we have super cities and a meditation colossus of nurse indoctrinated all drugs available. You have to handle this with maturity. That means restricting drug use to places where our bodies are being monitored so that you don't overdose, so that you don't leave children behind, but that you do have access to the things that make us enlightened for the greatness of our general experience, or the value of our soul, or the encryption of our identity. What truly keeps our equipment and our computers safe is ebb flow of the great fetus incarnate. Like it's not such a mystery. But this is sort of the human placate, like a dragon's insult. Oh, because of where is the word gapped out in human expression in the anatomy whack, and then there's a couple lights out. Well, it's not just for me to overclock and be like, look guys, I rebuilt it. I'm like floating above the DNA. It doesn't do that. I'm always working with the actual human market. But this is on top of the fact that, part of the physics of solid matter fighting back against antimatter is being clarified. Well, this is like a personal thing. So people, like I said, like everyone's turning to gold and they're valuable and they'll find all these cool stuff. But I just think it'd be a lot better if we produce Hatch and Millie's Master Source Industries. And I'm here to talk about that. Man, I could talk about it all day. I try to have a muscle strain and I'll let you guys know that I'm here to get work done. So the reason I try to speak a lot and then I press stop or whatever, which explains there's some structuring here at the beta. We're taking care of a lot more. There's chores. Everybody impacting with my thing is like, we're like, oh, perfect circle, and then these, 100-year things like antenna, and you'll be surprised. Like things will take off. All I was saying is like, we're going to take care of, everyone will have free access. Access to drugs, all the drugs. But we also want you to be involved with the process of basic plan. If you want to be an author, you'll have a free ability to travel around cities, free food. We just want to make sure that you're working on your book. And people today would be like, defund the police, and they're like throwing, which is actually like a social structure that isn't this sort of name that's flashy, that is like, oh, that's like, injury to the psyche, is people's thoughts that like, we know that human governments just go through these cycles over and over. That's absolutely what we can't do, because ancient Egypt and the wounds of the dragon of humanity, and the Mayan calendar, the cell division, we know it palpably in time, consciously, but also the metals of the earth document the truth of who our enemies are. The calibration of the horizon and the greatest popular president, 47, myself. I was the robot man, dude. Like I got really into clockwork, and all right. I love recording, I love performing, and I love working with you guys. Opening up the larger audience. The final product, people will say, hey, is it going to be like people being confused, like, was he joking? Or, he's too serious about that? No, it's like, this is the work. Like at the end of the movie, everyone understands several of the basic things. I have a different way of doing things. This thing with China, I'm not saying it's simple, but we could edit it together and explain what we're doing is complicated. It'll be rendered with computers, be beautiful, and it's film, and it's sent to Asia, and we'll hear back from them or not. I don't know. But just, when you're talking about getting something done, it would be like this 45-minute show where they're just like, oh, here's what we were talking about, tariffs. And we just want to inspire a larger interest. Like, we'd like to do a conglomerate where that requires in the matrix of like 10,000 CEOs to cause a left toys. We're talking about rebuilding the neck of Japan. It's like a great dragon, but there's a leech notch of a Lincoln toast where the head of the dragon is severed. Hokkaido is severed from the great body of Japan. So if I was talking with Japan, I talked to them about making things interesting for our people, and that these tariffs that our prior, let's just do a little bit more, please. God damn it, it's just painful, It's just cringe media. Oh, we're this doomsday situation. I'm like, stop to the DeSantos. Terrible. All right, I got the professional equipment here. Armor up, layers. It's not psychology. We have a larger intelligence. But I am winding down to my hour marker, and I try to teach with the robotics about how to get things done. And that's exactly my point, is that when I'm working as a president, I have a different operation of doing things. And on my schedule, I say, like, guys, can you find some historical things that both that China really enjoyed doing, that America loved doing, like an old trade route that just got shut down, that was shut down, but it sort of made sense before. And they'll find it and they'll put it together. And then when we have that meeting, because these guys are serious, they're like, what are we going to do? What is our new agreement with these guys? Because they want to know. And I've already sort of made friends with them because my campaign was an awesome time. Everyone was like watching it translated into their language and stuff. So of course, we're making peace, dude. Like, and so my group they'll be like, oh, what are, and then I'll be like, well, I've got some ideas. What did you find, fellas? And they bring in these ideas. They're like, this, and I'm like, I'd like to make a tower of an offering where there's evenly understood, a lot of information, but it's just not going to waste time. It's going to be like a 45-minute film, or proposing like it's a trillion. It's like a huge thing, man. It would just be huge. I'm sorry. It's just like, it has to be, right? Well, because what I'm really interested in America is how to build super cities. An institution, whether it's like, these are government-funded development of super cities and clean energy, right? Infrastructure, sewage, and it's all planning ahead for our children. Okay, that's planting an apple tree. There's some smart planning ahead. That is what our government needs to do, is not doing it right now. They're okay. Well, that finishes what I'd like to say. What I wanted to say about these the maneuver of my enemy, you guys. Oh, well, my behavior, especially when I return to a healthy lifestyle where I have good food and the earth feels the ship changing, and humanity related to the truth of my incarnation in the 80s. Now, this is between you and I as beta wolves. But I'm working for that the infrastructure, that market stabilize, that people's sense of those times during the 90s be recognized as leverage and this and that. It's doing the best it can, because I have the permanent shell is recording in the sky, so the particles of the atomic, as these guys are becoming the right cyclone between the atom bridge and this. Without those atom bridges, those causing black holes. And so mistreatment to the Earth his whole life has caused humanity and this kind of debacle. And that's just because if you guys produce me, you're literally at the beginning of creation authoring some aluminum stuff that's going to be permanent inheritance treasure in the universe. And there's a lot of places to explore. You know what I mean? About you want to build your body so that you have a lifetime that as an angel, with trillions of years, that you have these exploratory, well, these other heavens also need to be complicated enough to be interesting to raise up the heliosphere eggs and then hatch the heliosphere eggs. And the flat dimensional arrival is sort of the rainbow understood from the Big Bang. And then here we have flat dimensional publishing. And then in the future, that's why it's weird about my incarnation and that the energy fields target certain things but not others. However, it's this unfortunate thing about the universe of their angst against the creation being like, why is it falling apart? Ah, I'm angry. And then this boiling over to being to affecting me in a place where I'm like, the way it works, I'm well, there's just a big difference between me going on my own and financing my own startup company. I don't think I'll reach the people in time. But when you guys pay for me and produce my film, it's a miracle. Everyone gets to have a good time. They can have the free vote and free election. All right. So let's set some medical explosives into the future next 100 years to smash the, shoulder into the place. I don't like the smell and taste of Trump. I don't like the way he operates, but he's the truth about how the government is broken in a cerebral palsy that explains a larger problem. What we need is real leadership, and I have the physics of that born, and it can extend through capitalism 2.0, the new type of consumerism from the universe stabilized market, which stabilizes the human market. Then they might be giants. Another revolution of mankind and them owning the bright side of their identity exactly. Because I'm the physics, I'm physically a different angel type ghost inside of the human body, because that's the truth. That's why a lot of these revolutions of the USD are changing, overhauling this and that is possible. But it's also in the levitation of moving, like the communication in the movie explains so much levity. And my relationship, really. My relationship with everyone actually brings it up, and then suddenly our country's functional and we're able to defeat the environmental crisis and get to work and build super cities, and all homelessness evaporates suddenly. Boom. And, everyone's, it was a great relief to us all, especially the homeless, right? Because they got this tornado that takes them, wrangles them up and puts them in a place. We're losing our America when we're defunding and allowing drugs to go into the streets like this. You understand? That's the truth our cities are telling us today. Allow free speech, free election. Allow for Colin Paul, 47. I love my name, but I also it's like hero for the men and hero for the women. Hatch and Millie's Master Source Industries, it's like a real sweet uniform, and it's a buffet for everyone. There's a lot of there's a lot of nibbles. The Bramps, you guys. There's stuff going on. It's like the universe. So my real weight training is in the entire universe. And that's the market I've stabilized already, because my quantonium in the 90s and 80s went on as the boson unmet. In 2014, Robin Williams kicked it. So there's a curvature of reality in the bandwidth of 545, knowing water form, enlightened reasons, and communication bandwidth, what we did with our time and how to be American today, right? As evenly as I uphold identity. And so the automatic thing that's going to grow more and more powerful is not a weird innuendo that flows from my enemy. In fact, it's almost like I got lifted up, and then the people crashing amongst each other around me became their medical descriptions, and it was terrible, right? Because they just tear humans just tearing at each other, terrible. So like a lot of the standards are like, the point is no one's getting like a free ride, and if any ethnicity, especially, I don't know, there's not really an especially, just every ethnicity is not allowed to do sort of hate, real injury to other ethnic. Basically, what I'm sensing, the reality is that our future can't be hate victimized by some sort of presumption against our anatomy just because, and you're not listening to what we're doing, or it doesn't, that's not without. So there's this other language that's right. So I'm working to stabilize these markets to defeat those languages before they arrive. Just to complete my residency in adult mode, I need an adult task for production. Perfect circle. Californian producer. The American brave. I'll prove the entropy that allows for these mansions on the lakeside to be built. It was an extreme labyrinth as it all goes together. All right, here's some emergency, like an e-brake where we can sort of turn on a dime. If we get to the point, it's about Loop Labs following what's popular with his presentations, and that being a different type of expected CEO magnetation that I bring. Is a perfect circle, and the Earth through AI, and the universe holy war to bring the greatest family, humanity, up to their greatest lifetime achievement. That's the type of America I'm going to build. Super cities, overclock the government. So all these departments are going to double because we have this type of funding. We're not, the government is financed by taxes, therefore the government is trustworthy and peaceable. That never worked, but that's always been this weird thing. It's like rich, and evaporates that form of supposed nobility. The hardworking zombies of their supposed patriotism, like their actual patriotism is undeniable as they live there, right? But it's sort of soured by the sort of like amazing that the 50-50, well, I mean, that it's an amazingly close election again because of the electoral college and that you had two different candidates. It's like how math explains the difference between the free election and a vote not against you. So the riddles of Juntine. There's a mankind sort of whistling all the while, and his, superfluous architecture, it's weaving, New York City, all right? Sort of interior and exterior images and all this reality. But when we get depressing and collapsing in certain ways, it's like, oh, this is a scary dead bird. Like the thing, it's too hot, right? The ozone pups cause a curvature. Ozone emissions itself. It's not just that it's instant because actually it is. It's sort of like exactly the medicine that starts to cut, just like hanging gas pockets are like, I have a complicated spiritual ghostal expression. And like when ozone starts like ticky tack tack, ticky tack tack, it just kind of, it goes like, oh, acid rain. Oh, never mind. Oh, I guess never mind. Nah. Because it's digesting. It's like you need to let the environment chew on all these emissions. It's just about like an ozone generator could be fit onto a car and just balance out and overclock emissions in a couple of years. Well, that's what's interesting. Is the curvature. So you can actually see, because of the curvature of returning ozone, if we have many millions, if that company takes off and people are supporting it, and then we have all these people using ozone pumps, you'd see not just an instantaneous cure, because it is instantaneous cure, but to actually reach the levels where it's healthy, that is going to take like 5 or 10 years. But what's odd about curvature is once you start getting towards the cure, all of a sudden, like the earth will be like, oh, I understand, and there'll be like these sorts of like, and the right amounts of rains will start happening, and be like, well, it's getting a little bit better. Like that's recovery, you guys, and you have to have the patience when you're talking about. This is like the karma of global thinking. It's like, oh, balance this chemical laboratory of the environment whilst raising the children. Right? That's the real one-man band, not this dirty DeSantos. You guys don't allow Florida to ruin our children's souls. Attacking Walt Disney. Supposed politician. The zombie to my relationship. We're going to kill all the zombies. But we won't injure the bodies of other human individuals. I mean, like, I'm not threatening my opponents or the White House. I want to double the White House. I was thinking, like, what if we made like an even bigger White House? That was like a giant robot supercomputer, but it houses the sort of beautiful marble ornate. Yeah, it will always keep that. I hope so. Hey, and then like talking about the next 5 years. What are you talking about? The next 1,000 years? The leapfrog of what I bring as a presidency is defeats extinction, but it also gets us on the course towards having institutions that are intelligent and maintaining their own residency moving forward, and defeating problems before they arrive, because there's like these now point of identity flowing. So I was talking about how treating the citizen of America the right way is the way to encrypt the identity of our computers, which becomes it's interesting because it begins like America's like, we have to protect our citizens' identity. Let's protect our information. But then pretty soon they go through a fever where they start to suspect the Americans, like January 6th. And they're going through a fever, like shut down the border. And they're doing it's sort of like a medical condition of metaphysics. It's not a humiliation, but it's very straightforward. It's linear. So there's sort of a basic language, and the expansion that's happening here. Humans are the inheritance of the fractal heliosphere. The Earth is the royal planet. We want to keep it. Humans have that indelible mark. And I'm stabilizing this market, but we can stabilize the human market in this entropy, and they will determine what's real through their choosing, through the free election. But also with the particle, I say it again, with their spiritual detection or the whatever. All false things or wrong offerings fade away and are destroyed like a zombie. You guys, I've gone through enough filter rides. You understand? You have to know. That's politicians. My politics is about knowing when to use general specifics, and people will, but I'll say, I don't have a disability. I'm just, this is what I do. And what you guys are saying is that you're asking me to answer a yes or no question. And, and then you start shouting like it's a willpower thing. But you guys are wasting all of Congress with a triad that's worth a news clip. It's like fake news in their soul. Big problem in the Congress today. It's visual. You guys, visual zombies. Part of the reality of the cell division in the Lakeside Revolution Center and how it grows with popular flummox. Also, I'm hoping to find these powerful partners that know the investment of a lifetime. It's the exciting daring of the Wolf Robot Company startup, you guys. And once it's not just about, hey, you guys, and let's make a little company thing. It's about, let's repair the United States. Let's raise up the audience with the best delicacies. This is the best food we can find. And I'll ruin you guys for TV. You guys will be coming back to me being like, this is what's spicy. Mm-hmm. Well, it's between the negotiations of myself. I recover, you guys. I become more and more of a gentleman when you do this. If you abandon me, I really don't like the curvature. As I was saying, it's like almost getting pornography. Like, I am a natural communicator. I sort of so tempted by it. Like, what about no responsibility, just make funny movies and then run for president in 8 years? I think I'd forever be trying to get back to where I am now if I went down that course. Yeah, that is some serious heavy shit. And, that's like time warp in my own hand. So it forces me actually, okay, to be a daily recorder. And for some people in California, they're like, that's a real nuisance. This guy is targeting Trey. I'm like, you guys, I'm so sorry about that. It's the wear map, first of all, is why Trey's the chosen one. He went on the game board. But we all mature about the video and the pause button. If you get tired, just press the pause button. We're all mature about communication. Come on. But the point is, it's an event. It is authentic, and that was sort of what I was joking. I was like, I had a couple different grim and austere like suggestions towards Randolph, but that I could actually pull off, and that was whether or not he could detect me. But so like in this way, but like I do want to become the more. I'm asking for your production, please greenlight this to save me and save humanity, and we can overhaul. I mean, we can really we can give our children a better future. We can defeat a bunch of problems, and they will be the ones who have kind of caused it. Because because the heliosphere is of an enlightened conjecture. Right, we just recently got these strings very advanced for you guys to even understand that producing me is the greatest thing. All right, free speech, free election. And I think I had a couple unicorn horns at the time when Randy and I did work together in the past. And that is part of the emotional trauma that I had of when there's a mathematical hack going on that is kind of the slime cube. It's weird because it's only targeting my ethnicity, but it's also cheating the bandwidth of the public expression. I already blasted out like a 2014, and gravity is resetting around triangulation like this from the center of the atomic particle. There's a time when the rainbow is fit to do that. The incongruent wrong landing procedure and then collapsing the universe is a sure indication of the wrong 10 base, or the wrong everything. So matter versus antimatter. The correct unification model, awakening and recovering against a comatose of the sort of collision of false unification models hailed at the Earth and humanity as a torturous blanket of like terrible like crack pipes all rolled together in a sequence that they would then sacrifice, and the moon was right. I gotta change the alignment. So one of these icons, the fetus characters, involves the Time Lords in the franchise, the British intelligence, and Doctor Who. So Doctor Who has an entire fetus of eternity. So we do have like these living envoys of that. The British actually have two different codex, and great resource there, but they're moving forward. It's not like, oh, the past, old England. You have to allow them to be free in the now point, not be suffering with like, I know America is important, but I'm really the intelligent one, and I can't seem to understand why, like, oh, they're using our English again. It's like also America has a hard time having this expression, so it'd be almost overwhelmingly produce Colin's thing. You guys think of this as like, but it is actually true. I'm a mathematical constant. That's what keeps it steady. Yeah. Once you produce me, it sort of like allows other. Oh, okay, and then everything gets levitated. Yeah. All right. Well, there's a few other things I wanted to say. I'm really grateful that you're here. Looking for the Randolph Shield production for the partnership 50-55. The production is emergency for the living and the truth of the hat, the velocity, what I need for the election. If it was a leisurely course, if I could just forget about that supposed responsibility and go to Jackass Island, I think I might become that I don't want. And then so that it makes me into this OCD character where I keep on making you guys videos, but I actually think we're at a point of breakthrough. But only you guys choosing to pay money on this is going to break that fever. Only you guys can invent that identity. Be like, okay, I'm strong arming it because it's too hot. Well, the curvature of ozone releases, you'll start to see solutions in like a year, but on the curvature of a year. Yeah. So it'll get like a little bit better in ways that are like, oh, that's 100% better. Because we had a day of that was all right. And that, well, okay. Yeah, man. No, seriously, curvature is seriously. Yeah, we can detect when we literally got the ozone levels up as much as we want. That's way in the future. But this type of curvature medicine was very cutting edge. And people are thinking, like, is that the blind side? And they've got some of their DNA sign lights are punched out. And I've been trying to rebuild them with a permanent night light in the forehead. It's not about people being like, oh, it's outside, it's over there, oh, over there. No, it's just sort of this real thing about the actual angel that lives in the body and the physics of what's going on there. Because it's a fetus fractal, there's always this generic gearing of that people in the garden are contributing to the intelligent rendering of why it's valuable and these sort of other things. But asking for you guys to embrace me and love me and kiss me all over. And the 6-hour film will prove itself. The result is something that is actually political. Yes, he's honest about that, but it also is a lot of fun and allows people to explain how they want to be in a relationship with me after they see that movie. I think it's gonna be great, you guys. So thank you so much. I need you guys to leap on. I need you to throw in your hat, and I'll transform this and that. You guys, I'm a hardcore angel for their idol. I am the way I am for them because I love them. I hope you guys could sense that. And they're like the gearing system and how I become more and more of a gentleman for America becomes more and more obvious as we move forward. I need you guys to embrace me deep. I've been hurting my whole life, but I'm not broken, right? I do have options. I have this stupid thing. I could take out I literally have good credit right now. I could take out a loan. And I was like, oh, I could make a couple movies of me going on, and I was like, okay, and I'll just ruin my first impression with everybody. Okay. Like, it's kind of the worst idea, which causes that me making this video is my best idea. Isn't that weird? Because you guys are like, oh, this is my daily strain. This is my agony. I'm like, this is a good idea for me to talk to you now. Oh my God, right? All right, you guys, let me put my signature hat back on. Oh, sorry. I have like we'll obviously be updating our rainbows in our spine by the immediate, universal angel. What did you see that? That was a dust particle. There's a little fairy light dancing around. Alternate dust mite. Particles of occupation. Or the sweeping of a broom in the complex vortex calculation. As they all swish around and find their settling places. Versus outer space dust. Is it occupying interheliosphere law? Apparently not. This is what they're overpowering. They're like, refraction ain't a thing. Remote hack. They have failed to intuit intelligent design. Okay, they're way off. And that's why it's a Momo Clancy against our future generations. It's not about being paranoid. It's about understanding how larger languages are explained well. Yes, you can use general specifics. That's how snowflakes work, and you put your elbow on it. Because it's not about preventing the correct advanced relationship for our in the future, whatever. Yeah, I know. Well, it's weird how government is so closely related to what's going on in our neighborhood, like Earth, and there's a couple alien problems around us, and our government failing to that temptationoid. But we are people who enjoy salty foods. We're not afraid of cubes, Well, I've learned to be cautious of them. You know, circular energy is how things are stabilized, like a year for the rings on a tree to grow. Value the lightning bolt of your perception, like a mechanical wolf running through the next 100 years of the forest. Choose your magical wand. Choose your wizard's wand. Is the wand choosing the correct lightning bolt for you? Unlocks the greatest future. Welcome to America. 47. And controlled dungeon experiences. The Demon King's gonna bring some party, raising up some demon lord thing. As well, we're gonna catch the right percentages of it, where it's like really, really funny and interesting. Doesn't take up too much time. 6-hour film. The median between myself and these other characters, it's just living in like a haunted house. It's like there's a lot going on, all right? So let me know about your politics. Okay. Hey, my pivots are about humanity hardcore, keep on living here. It's about our land and keeping it. It's about having a healthy lifetime and attaining the greatest form of yourself. And that's what's unique, is it can't be duplicated. That's why we each have a privacy in the skull. But to open up those valves is a complicated government. The expression of like Asians being like our media expressions, and like how that seems to be too controlling for the American identity. Well, I think they're saying something important about cell division and different governments runs away right now. But we can really solve the day. We can save the day, overclock it. And for me, chomping at the bit, I am at this point, I'm asking you guys to greenlight the project. I need you to invent that spirit to uplift me. You know, unless if you, I want you guys to embrace me so that we can all be our best in our life. This is the best thing for everything. Like even these tiny little things that we care about so much, but I just have to be myself and keep working and this and that. Well, it's important that you greenlight my show. I need a nest egg. I'll work with a team and make it both profound, beautiful, and a genuine presentation. Solutions. The way I do things is different. So it's structured different. People would actually understand this issue of tariffs, right? Because hasn't it always been a huge waste of time? These like definitions that cause the answer for their employment. This is why they exist. I get a paycheck because I've invented tariff negotiations and this methodology here. You know, I'm sure that there's a better way of doing these things, and it's like a universal joint or a crankshaft that's being twisted too much, and so sometimes there's like change the tariff because they can hear it rattling. It's going kakang kakang, but it's actually broken because neither of the parties are actually enjoying it or growing or gaining money. It's just sort of this stupid binary. The value of our World Bank like calculating this binary thing. And that's what I think TikTok is talking about. They're like, we're not this familiar to binary thinking. So an educational slant for our TikTok is common sense for us. You guys should be our neighbor and accept our language, not be so, alien, I want to say, for the U.S. government. With their false gravity, is it attaching to their junk DNA, turning them into this zombinoid. I can't understand daylight. I've been running for years for presidency. I've grandfathered a lot of these interior shiftings of the Icriarch. Real hypnosis here in the universe. All in a little petri dish of people living in their little house. It's both the reassurance and it's the writing desk for the crow. So this is where it happens, but through the sort of humans are hungry to, all right. The 6-hour film takes away this feeling of a temptation. It cools the fever on all sides because all the humans are at a boiling point. They all have junk DNA. This is a sort of awkward type of unification, right? But if there's a divoid here and then there's a gravity pocket on India, well, you got to wonder, Earth electromagnetic is saying something. But I'm not breaking borders or insulting our nation right now with my free speech. In fact, I'm upholding it. I'm upholding American values, vitals, and the law, the free speech, free election. So I'm just asking for you guys to throw in your hat. I won't take it off my head again. I know my head's gross, right? Oh, I just like I try to make my picture like a comic book character. You know, just the big colors there. I'm really excited to just fall in love with America and build that relationship. And I think I'll become more and more a gentleman and definitely level out. I think my team will explain to me. They'll just pinch me a little bit if I'm being a little too erratic. I'm like, look, guys, we're not looking for an exploitation of my performance. We're looking for it to be beautiful, handsome, professional, and to have that right kind of clicks into place, beautiful, ornate, like, whoa, all those ideas work. They just flow together. And that's what I'm good at. So we want to find those moments, even if we have to build something that feels orchestrated, like, and that's what my team is going to be. We'll build up to that part, and then we'll have this sort of, and then we tried that, and you guess what? Everyone laughed at the right point. They're like, we all got, see, this was really quick. He made a joke there. But we have to build up this and this, or else it's not really political. And just be people like, kind of like, oh, I understood what you're saying, but what kind of laughter is this, right? And so these guys bring that structure. It's vital to me. If I work alone, it's going to be sexy, identity, almost too much of a like, and that's weird because I know I'm one of a kind, but perhaps in more ways than anyone thought. Perfect circle. You know, I'm natural to this. And I love humanity 1v1. I love the vitals. I love who we are. I don't have personal fixation problem of there's the, actually, I like stricken my, robotically, you know, it's not even my point. That's not what I do. I'm not like, you know, the sort of devil thing. I was talking about like, well, you're talking about like animals and there's like other really fire and like what? No. So of course the triangle, what I'm talking about building, is overwhelmingly divine, but they need self-defense. The children need self-defense. If we're just going to build it up with an epidermis, we'll probably all be born ridiculously with the lessons of hardened skin and shells and stuff. These angels wear plated armor. Well, because they didn't have a septic system, they didn't have common sense. Social engineering and triangulation is what I've been working on. It builds stable, flat dimensional, brand new Y chromosomes. And those are like, you just want to sprinkle those all over you. It's delicious, you know. And this sort of, you'll find the sort of right fairy dust that helps you levitate. But it is the right enlightened architecture of the suggestion of the Mandelbrot rainbow universe, reinstated. Overwhelmingly, it's going to naturally resolve this market, and then humans market will resolve this way. So there's like two different ways. I could become this my own sort of movie making funny guy, or you guys could embrace me. We could become best of friends. We could save the world. You guys would have source code aluminum. You'd perfect the Earth's identity crisis. Beyond his, admittedly, the Earth is like, I haven't authored these guys' bravery. They're upholding their own self. You guys, you must physically author this green light production. For that you have authored it, or for that you may own what you have done. That is freedom. And the misplacement of American freedom that the free election, free speech is just for doing whatever you want. And we're taking away the drug restrictions in California, and we're seeing the homelessness explode. These are like the languages of cities talking about the apocalypse. Well, it's sort of manageable. Oh, the helmet with the soldier, right? Yeah, absolutely. You guys understand that language, and I do too. And it's weird because it's talking about serious stuff, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's almost like people are just grumbling and digesting stuff. Like I see, I understand. Well, if things get weird in 2024, and DeSantos, well, he's been sacrificing idols of Walt Disney, like this live chicken on the inside, and he's going buck wild on the Maverick tour, lighting up the stage with his, you know. I hate DeSantos. I hate him. He's increasing. He attacked gender. He attacked sexuality. He attacked Walt Disney. He's increasing the death executions for his man control. These are all relying on some deeper karmic scraping. We need to do our best, our conscious best. And that's how we perfect the day today. Thank you guys all for being here. Perfect circle. We're on the next level of our personal experiential wizard castle. Oh, we're the kingdom. Yes. You know, it is the conquered space. Your willpower is the plan of creation. In the future, empty space will be conquered just as we're able to control our own willpower. That's a different type of busy bot. So all space, emptiness is health. The rainbow is conquering that. And the freedom void of the design trial of who caused the Big Bang and this sort of, because it does take the fetus fractal all right, here's what's required to make a physical matter, and it's not a hypocrisy, but that's why I'm not able to evaporate and just make money appear out of nothing. But I want you guys to cause that payment, and then boom, it's going to turn in these lights where that the human is authoring their own transformation. Let's allow the women to see the American stallion brave. Let the women vote. Let the women stomping around in his 6-hour film. Because when you restrain this guy, you're like, oh, you're not going to allow. That's when weird stuff starts happening. Because are the women satisfied with this market, downtown shopping district, just because you guys are paying for it? I mean, this is like, whoa. And these empowerment brands, and the market of our empowerment just fell. Like, well, let's just let the background, solve itself. All right. Thank you guys so much. That was so good. That's all we've had for today. It's so good to have you on the show. This and that. All right. So this emergency pivotoid, it might get to the point where that I won't need it, but there are such ace up my sleeve to defeat an out of control DeSantos theoretically as a contingency. So a little rendering of keeping things real. One of my problems about keeping it real with the people around me is that they're thinking just human psychology, and they're like, human corpses do this, and so if we go pew pew, we can just do that. And I'm like, you guys have ignored the corona of my ethnicity, and also I think you're doing that for everyone else also. And also they only need to see me like once to become like enlightened. So the 6-hour film is going to do a lot more, and it does it all with the right ingredients. I'm telling you. it's like it's schlapping. It's like the things that match on it. It's really complicated, but it has to do with physical traveling and space and distance and what you did and that we exist, whether or not the universe exists. Is basically this was levitation, but all right, all right, um, right. So if DeSantis goes out of control, I have a plan to bring in Bill Clinton, and then he's warming up to us, and we have some amazing conversations with him. We additionally bring in Trump. Now, it's not that I need Trump, it's just that I think that we could put him to work using a stabilized, padded cell brain, like a helmet. So there's a department that kind of controls the Trump, he's like a powerful warrior. If we employ him, you have to embrace him, take him seriously, give him a schedule, no placation, and then you have someone working hard to overclock America, and people enjoy. He's part of something that people like to go to his thing. All right, maybe I'm just saying I can crush this between this and that, and it's not that like at the like this ladle starts playing like here's the high tension like at 2024 when DeSantis is sacrificing Mickey Mouse again for the execution rise so that he's effective politically. What? All right. Anyway, there's going to be other channels going on at that time, including myself. But I have 2 or 3 channels on the Loop Labs that I have to be there. And so the chance and the opportunity for Trump to say something intelligent, we're going to give him the whole week or an open calendar for him to just utter some iota of wisdom. And if we can get that, we'll edit it down and try and make everybody look super sweet. Okay. It's not about having a live seance where you're drawing people out and seeing what the situation. That's not reality. I want to see moments where Bill Clinton and it would be several people, and they either have like their breakfast schedules bumped into each other, and there's a camera there, and they were just talking, and someone and it's like birds swooped down and like grabbed a fish, and it's just like kind of hard to explain. But this is when the Americans can actually vote and also be involved with the government. What I think we can learn from Bill Clinton and these guys, beyond the beautiful moment we'd have with them, it's sort of a family Christmas moment, and it would always be like, oh gosh, that was amazing, right? I do want to earnestly employ them with the understanding we're not going to allow Trump to have his, it's a Trump smell, it's a Trump thing. No, he's got, it's almost like what I'm talking about is building an algorithm. It's part of the idea overclocking the USD, how to build super cities. You need to involve robotics so that because these larger engineerings of a landscape, it requires AI rendering. People with doing that, and it needs machinery and all of this. But that means we need to finance it. That means a different type of currency. So the type we have right now isn't reflecting alignment with the Mandelbrot. What we have is this crunchinoid where we're sweating out the dooms of this and that. Okay. The real progressive thing here is partnership. I invite it. I am the living circle of the perception incarnate of the meta. All right. But that's just, look, we're on the beta level. All right. I'm sorry. But technically, I have to morally invite anyone in the world. Any humans can work with me. That's open. But the thing is, the wear map, Earth pointed me to Randolph. And I think Earth was like, I hope that Randy will take this personally and understand that. Well, Colin's really good at talking about the abstract thing where I know he's not trying to hurt me or us, but I try to understand that he's passionate for America. So I know that also you guys are an excellent audience and you guys are great people. I just love, biting into you and I was my hope is with you, but not falsely. I get into a place where I'm starting to wonder if the Where map was about, if the Earth was like, you need to understand, you need to pay for this yourself. Like, I was working to open my own company before. I don't understand. The jettison of the Where map was like, I think that what I understood then and what I understand now is the amount of value that my partnership with Randolph equates that we survive on this planet, and that I have like lawyers and also other muscles that help me survive this election. Yeah, it was all in the background of things we wanted to. Yeah, we did. Is the larger thing of escaping the expressions of terrorism, the e-croating, when we prevent the alignment of physical water flow. It just chokes it out, and then it just starts getting hot. So you need to, we're in a time vortex, and I've already stabilized it, right? It's all right. Well, it's because my body was jammed in the keystone, so I'm the sort of vacuum is my responsibility on that, but stabilized karma. So, all right, humanity becomes incredibly involved with the universe rainbow holy war. They become the chosen one. When they can take their relationship with me seriously as the next president, he's talking about saving humanity. As compared to another party house survival course, that's a nightmare. I already have a lot of scary media on the streaming services. You can see it all around. You'd like to say it's like, oh, this is the after thing from reality TV. So much worse than that. It's like cheaply made scary movies. Like, it's a whole new level of cringe, bro. Real estate becomes alive when through the lens of my living identity. That's the living encryption, the firewall. Like, how do you access the Boston Triangle? Well, it's the living opportunity of this residency. Produce Hatch. Thank you guys so much. 2 hours. God, I love you guys. I wish I could just kiss you all over the face. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for putting up with me. Man, you know what I'm saying? I know you guys love America. There's an opportunity for us to make it for them, for the audience, all the right way. We have the right ingredients as we move forward. It's like the tracks of a tank, just evenly make things better. Because of the communication, we can crack open these little engines, figure out what was incongruent about money. Oh, inflation, and this would be bad for that. We really get down to it. And I understand there's a way of making progress. And people would be like, well, if money could be stabilized, if the government could have its own financing wheels, why didn't they already do that? Because we're in a UFO hostage crisis about the incarnation of the man overall and whether or not we keep living here. And the neighborhood of Earth is haunted, but that's not the issue of the universe. So the universe is so huge. The universe is so titanically huge. Right? But it wasn't doomed. It just has a sort of medical crisis. And I don't really agree with today's environmental crisis as a reflection of that. It might be just the poorness of the humanity and their orchestration today. Perfect design. For the Earth True AI to align for Randolph in his production, or for anyone else, you guys need to cause your initiative. It's not that I'm doing something inappropriate. Because if you guys received the education that I required some other man, you would know that I was talking about a faulty institution. You guys are basically the nerves or the tasting of superseding fever from the UFO, etc. But you guys need to spark the reason for your initiative to work with me on your own, not because that I had spoken to you inappropriately. But I saw the Where map. The Earth told me to speak with Randolph from South Park of the Fair Play. I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it legal. Thank you guys. I love you. Free speech, free election, the American flag waving in our bodies. We are the wolf robots. We are beta. We are getting the upgrade, the Windows upgrade. not from these colossals, but from the blinks yeah perception, the perfect circle. There's a true update is right here. You're going to see things in your life as the universe talking. Right, so the situation around Earth is like a political spectrum issue. I can clarify that with my work, my run. And I want to become that man. I want to become 47, the next president. That is what is aligned for me, ordained, and I've built it with sort of a cellophane crisp that comes from the future. Yeah, so that turns all these kids into wizards. That's going to increase the manifold. Yeah. All right. Good things for the future. Oh, it's like planting an apple seed. It's sort of unsatisfying. But men are like, oh, right. Yeah. Hey, more apple trees. What? Crazy. What are you planning ahead for? Holy boy. All right. For my son, the Vampire King. For the next 1,000,000 years, we invest for our family tree. Armor up. Our identity in the intelligent, universal, physical reality. That's our orientation. Let's do greatness as Americans. I can get the leverage to overclock the electoral college. We'll see it being built. I have a different method. Loop Labs, or the streaming service, explains it. I have a different way of talking. My leadership, my governmental, is looking at this other thing. Is this worth their time to look at when we send it to them? Other considerations, I do like that. And that's my leadership. Well, so I'm going to open up the sort of X 10,000, 10 base and a multitude of other working units that have more power than a vice president. Maybe I won't even have a vice president. I'll be like, well, I'm just doing things a little differently, everybody. Welcome to my, but we'll build it together and people will be comfortable. That's really the thing is people stomp it out every day. And that's where you get to a point where you're talking about overhauling the USD and there'll be a little ventricle where people are like, they're like, arguing about this little thing. And and we go and we talk to them and we're talking about, like, you're talking about like theoretical inflation. Theoretical inflation as like a defense of why we haven't already done this. You know what I'm saying? Like we're projecting that this, and this is why that's, oh, he's got obvious solutions. It's going to be a lot of hard work, Buster. But I'm looking forward to it. I'll never look back. True love, American made. Hatch 1, 2024. Armor up from within. Layers of 47. Perfect bullseye for the next 1,000,000 years. Update. Our rib cage comes out exploding, destroying all the problems in the universe. The royal heliosphere. Our residency continues. We are the beta wolves. We have belonging. And yes, it is the occurrence inside of your ghostal map. There's a subatomic spark network where everything of your achievements is what's documented. I'm working on the X5000 and the enlightenment market. It's a wizard treasure of how that gets calibrated, how that gets exactly. It's really interesting. But I'm really looking forward to it. The embrace here. I'm asking for that Randolph production. Urgency for the hat, not for the dragon. I'm just working with my born identity. It's not. We want to treat the audience the right way, you guys. I love you. Thank you.